students that are interested in aviation. And so we're going to take them on that trip and get that. We're in the very beginning stages, but we're looking forward to adding that as a program for our students for our vocational school.
Sounds
Sounds great.
It is. It's really exciting, and there's as we have a shortage in teachers and bus drivers and everything else, they have a shortage in pilots too. So we're trying to add that as a program for our students. So I'll keep you in touch, keep you informed as we go through that. So then, also under the site-based report for number 3, Union County High School will do their presentation this month. Then if you go on down, everything's pretty customary and standard agenda items. Down to number 6 under approval of consent, we have approval to apply for fiscal year 24 Youth Tobacco Intervention in Schools grant. And this grant is a $2,400 grant working with the health department as physical agent for evidence-based intervention for vaping. So if you remember, it's been a while back when we first started talking about vapes. I think maybe it's Lanya mentioned too that the vaping is an issue, and it's one thing just to have disciplinary for those students and suspend and things, but what we were saying is, what are we doing for them? What kind of smoking cessation are we providing, or as far as restorative practices? And so we've been looking at those things. So this grant will help us with that, because it's basically an intervention grant, which we can intervene, and those students, as part of their discipline, they'll actually sit through some of those education classes about what vaping can do to
So
you.
it's grant offer materials too then? Or?
Yeah, the 2,400 is basically for someone to be trained in having those like smoking cessation, things like that. So I'm not sure what all, do you know of any other things? It was mostly
They
training.
provide a program, and then it's for the training, home safe person for the training.
So but it'll be something in addition to just, you've been vaping and suspension. We had talked about, we need to really do something for them besides just saying we're suspended. So there's that one, number 6. There's no cost to us, but we just always want to tell you. Then number 7, approval of Spectrum Enterprise contract for enterprise trunking and business voice unlimited solutions. We've asked Billy Irvin to be here today so he can kind of go over that. We've attached that contract, and so the state will no longer be using AT&T. And so I've asked Billy to kind of share with you what all this involves, because it's all his language that he uses every day, and the state stuck with him too. And so he and Sean are here today to share a little bit of that. So if it's okay, we'll go ahead and do that now.
So basically, the state is no longer carrying AT&T, it's their backbone. So that pushed us to have to make us changes. So there's 2 phases of it, but the big phase is just to keep it simple, is right now we pick up our phone service, our physical phone numbers from AT&T at the state level, in Lexington, and they pipe it down here to us. We no longer can do that. So what we looked at is 2 or 3 different things. Spectrum came in with a bid that's about half of everybody else's. They're about a 98.6% reliability. So that's 2 pluses. 3, we've already got Spectrum fiber in here because that's what links all of our schools together. So that's number 3. So with all that together, and to be 100% honest with you, AT&T's billing, Amy can attest to that, it's even hard to figure out exactly what you are paying for half the time. Spectrum seems to be straightforward. It's cheaper, it's here. So I would like to just go with them if everybody else is good with it. Is there any questions? I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse.
I've used Spectrum at my business site, and I've had an excellent.
Yeah, I know a lot of schools went that way, but really the only 3 options we had was Spectrum or go back with AT&T, but they'd have to put their own fiber here. Third would be with the company that's going to be doing the backbone. What it is the states went with Kentucky Wired, which is no longer called Kentucky Wired, but sure none of you've heard of it. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same outfit that's doing the fiber to everybody's homes. I think it's all coming together like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Spectrum was the cheapest. I think they're plenty reliable. I've had a good relationship with them as far as them being, Johnny on the spot with me. So that's that drive. I don't know if you have any questions. And if you give me a thumbs up on it, I will roll, so maybe let me know later if it's good.
And it's attached too, so you can look at it between now and Monday night if you have any questions.
Yeah, and like I said, as far as we went over and over, I don't think there'll be any unknown as far as that contract. So, the installation fee is pretty minimal. And like I said, we just have the fiber in there, it would be a whole lot less intrusive.
Is our equipment, all our equipment's compatible with what they would do, isn't it?
Yeah, what it is, right now, we're what they call the IP Flex, it's a SIPS trunking, so we're already that, it'd be the same concept, and they'll just drop it, and then with.
That's what I was curious, make sure we're gonna have to buy any other support equipment.
Yeah, you know, there'll be some back-end stuff on the other end, but it's more for the big state project that we're having to do, but again, you know, it's pretty minimal compared to the things, but as far as what we have in there now, the only thing will be on the installation side is just getting everything configured. You know, we have to, what they call port the lines, so we'll have to get over AT&T and say, hey, we want these numbers. And then once they release them, then of course, nobody does anything for free, but that's all included in the contract, what it costs for all that.
So we get 20 numbers, it's $15 a month per number.
It's 20, what they call call paths. There's a whole lot more physical numbers, so it's basically 20 paths, but there could be up to hundreds of numbers if we so decide. So we can grow the physical 389, blah, 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 but that's our call path, so that's a pipe back out to the network.
You have the hard numbers and then the internet numbers on top of that.
Right, yeah, so it's all digital, and, you know, the big thing is if we get approval today, that, you know, I need to get the 911 information out and go from there, but with what we're looking to from AT&T is, which is not really exactly the same project, but, you know, they're not supporting POTS lines anymore, they'll copper, so a lot of schools scrambling to try to find something, you know, reliable, viable, and Spectrum right now seems to be at least our best.
In this area, I would agree, for sure.
So that's the reason that, you know, I'm recommending them.
You said like they're not supporting AT&T Lexington, is that what you said?
Well, what it is, AT&T was always the backbone. Now, this is kind of different in the sense, but AT&T's always been the backbone for the state, for our, used to be T1, ST2, and I don't know exactly, but for our internet pipe. And when the state decided that they're gonna not continue that contract, that pushed the schools to have to, you know, go to that new fiber per se. And then with us, we're kind of a little different because we piped all our stuff from the state down here via their fiber versus a local straight in POTS line. Because we knew, you know, going several years back that POTS lines were going to be abandoned. What they're doing, a lot of companies is that have POTS, they're raising the prices from like $50 or $60 to $200 a month, trying to get everybody off. I don't know if you know Chris Willett, but talked to him the other day, and actually they're trying to get them to go what few POTS lines here in the county, they're wanting to go digital, where they're working themselves out of a job, because once you go digital, you don't need the old standard people to support it. And I know it's kind of going, chasing another rabbit trail, but,
So how does this, I know you said Spectrum was the best bid of going forward, but compared to our old system, which we can't use anymore, how do we compare?
it's about half.
It's even half to what we were paying.
It's
with
very, yeah,
AT&T.
Yeah.
a little-
So
little
it's
bit more
it's
than
$300
half.
a month for the 20 call paths, and then less than $79.98 for the business voice. So $380 a month district wide
Yeah,
for phone.
and we're right around 600.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's why I made that move 2 years
Yeah.
ago with my business, and it's for the same reason. It's
Yeah.
so much less expensive, and it's as good, if not better, service.
Yeah, you know, me being, you know, I came out of Time Warner, which is just now Spectrum, so I know a lot of the guys and stuff, and it seems to be good. I know Webster County's doing the same thing, Hopkinsville's doing the same thing. I can go on and on.
How many
Yeah,
phones do we
these-
have?
These people, so, anyway,
Roughly.
How many lines do we currently have?
We have physically
I was gonna say 23.
23 or 26, I should know.
Those are the two numbers I have in my
Yeah.
mind.
So,
Well,
that's how many physical numbers we have, but again, we can grow that with this, we could go in and say we wanna put more, 389 or 333 numbers here or there. One good thing with this is, right now, Uniontown's with Windstream. This will get us away from Windstream and go, because,
Good.
if I'm not mistaken, Uniontown is paying for the POTS line, which is actually another $100 if I'm right on that we're not even accounting in the savings. So if you throw that in there, now you're saving at least Uniontown $100 a month. So.
Windstream's
you put that in
sketchy.
account too.
They are.
They're off
They're
and on.
expensive.
It's terrible right
So,
now.
yeah, we're just trying to get away from the POTS lines, and we did that with the SIPs, but like I said, Uniontown still is an old POTS line, and that would be something else.
Sounds like the smart thing to do to me.
Yeah, it may, you know how it is, things change, but right now it's the best thing I can throw at you, so.
Thanks a lot.
If it bites me in the hind end, we'll do it later. But anyway.
Thank you, Billy.
If y'all
Appreciate
have me,
it.
I'm gonna get some groceries.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Bye, thank
you.
you. Okay, so you can read through it if you have any questions, we can ask Billy on Monday night. And then 8 is acceptance of the fiscal year 24 SFCC CAT's offer of assistance of technology, and our offer right now is $21,441, and it's based on the 22-23 ADA. And Amy will, she can talk about it more, but at this point, what we've talked about is we would like to escrow that for 3 years, because the board can match it, or you can escrow it up to 1, 2, or 3 years. So I'm sure she'll talk to you more about that here in a little bit. And then number 9 is a revision to policy 01.11, general powers and duties of the board, application for grants. We have that uploaded to, and basically what that is doing is giving me as a superintendent authorization to approve submissions of grants. You will still approve all final grants, but what happens, sometimes we will receive a grant on Monday and it might be due Friday. And we don't want to miss out on grant opportunities.
So it allows you to submit, but we'd still approve.
Right, so we would submit it, go ahead and get it started, but the final approval would still always come for the board. Most, and especially like if there was something where we had to match, then I'm like, ooh, I'm always hesitant if we have to match something. But if it's just submissions, and we've had, Blaine had one this year
Well,
for playground and something else.
Well, otherwise we
Like
had to
Lindsay-
do an emergency meeting to be able to approve it. so-
Right, and it's not gonna, it's no money to us. A lot of times there's $0 as far as what we're contributing, but it's just competitive grants or quick turnarounds. Especially sometimes with the federal, like they'll come out and they're due 2 days. You've gotta pull on midnight to get it done, but I don't wanna hold up or miss out on the opportunities, but then the final approval will come. And we understand that, we might do the work, the board may come back and say, no, we're not gonna approve that, but just wanted you all to know the submission piece is there.
for instance, Lindsay Bassett, the librarian at the high school, emailed me. She has 4 grants, mini grant. They range from $1,000 up to $2,000 for books and for poetry and materials, but they're small grants. And when we get those, like one is due, December 1st. That gives us time. But sometimes they fall within board meetings, and then the teachers miss out on grants that they're wanting to apply for. And a lot of times they're small, non-matching. So it would just give them more flexibility.
Okay, and then the last thing we have on there for today is revision to policy 3.4 substitutes, long-term substitute pay. And we have a policy on substitute teachers, 03.4. And Amy and I wanted to add, we've been talking about this from the auditors and us talking about payroll for a while and salary schedules. Under long-term sub pay on the blue right, it says substitutes hired for a long-term assignment shall be paid at the long-term salary rate from the beginning of the assignment. And what that will help us do, in the past, we've had the second bullet or third bullet there. Normally, when a sub comes in, once they work 20 consecutive days, their pay is retroactive back the first day to the bachelor's pay of a teacher. So what we want to do is, if we know someone's coming in long-term, to go ahead and start that, because anytime you have to go back and fix something, sometimes there's human error or you forget, or so we want to remove any error at all that we could, cause on our part. And it's just easier and cleaner for payroll for needing them just to start day 1 and do that. So we wanted to add that piece in there. And then also The principal may recommend long-term pay for subs filing a single assignment for more than 20 days if the days have not been continuous due to unavoidable circumstances. So if, what we've always had in the past is it's 20 consecutive days, and then you get that. Well, if you have, your mom passes away, or dad or something, and you have to miss a day, they had to go back and start all over the first 20 days. As long as they don't take another job in a different category, then we're like, why shouldn't we go ahead and pay them that? So we want to go ahead and put it in policy because, you know, if you get sub like for Lanier one day and then go to Greg's room one day, that's back and forth. But if you're there long-term, and we know you're gonna be long-term, but something happens, have to be out, have a friend in the hospital, or death, you're gonna come back to that same assignment. We keep those days moving forward instead of causing, saying a break in
So
service.
as long as it's not something voluntary.
Right, it's not voluntary, and it's not like they're doing a different
Gotcha,
job and coming
okay.
back to that job. As long as they're staying at that same job and not a break in service in that particular job classification, we feel like we need to just keep doing, because it's tough. It puts us in a bad situation
Well, it's
if
hard
we
to
don't
keep
do that.
long-term subs anyway.
Well,
We
and
have
with
so
Jo-
many teachers, we had a preschool
Jalen.
teacher who was here and she actually had a wreck on the way to school, very serious wreck, and so she missed a day. So then, so without this policy in effect, she has to start back day one, and she was like day 19, 18, 19.
Oh.
So this just gives an option for those types of extreme
It's very
extenuating
rare, but it
circumstances.
could happen, so
That does.
that's why we have.
But it also helps with recruitment of subs for long-term positions.
If they know they're gonna automatically start out, when we know that it's more than 20 days, right?
Right,
If the assignment to them is more than 20 days, then they can start out at that pay instead of
yes.
the base pay and then going back.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more inclined to wanna do it if I knew I was gonna make more off the top.
Right. So that's what those are about. Okay, Amy, anything else that you want to add on 6 through 10 that I didn't, I know I touched high level, but if there's anything.
No, the
detailed.
only thing, the offer of assistance, so this is our first offer. Typically, we receive a second and hopefully even a third offer if funds are available at the state level. And so I'm recommending that we escrow the SSCC technology offer of assistance up to 3 years. We currently have about 6 offers we already currently have in escrow, so we have to match those. And with each budget version, we're maximizing grants to match those and save general fund dollars. So we're kind of doubling our offer without any taxpayer money. So my recommendation is to escrow this offer again for 3 years, just like we have in the past.
Okay, that's all I have for regular agenda.
All right, that is all for the regular agenda. Next is general discussion.
The only other thing that we have under general discussion I have right now is the student board representative. We talked about it briefly last time and had shared with you all the policy and some of those revisions, but it didn't show up good on your computer. So I asked Evan to print out, and Evan and I met again and went through some of the questions you had last month out of the 17 districts that have a student representative. We went through all that data. And I kind of want to just go through with you today because to answer any of the other questions, and this is still draft, and so I wanted us to go through it today, and if you feel comfortable moving forward, we can. If not, we can keep working on it, so I don't want you to feel pushed or rushed on it, but I wanted you to share what we have right now, and we can go from there. So under student board member eligibility, the blue is what we've added. We have the student board representative must be a high school senior in good standing. The student must be on track to earn the academic credits required to graduate on time with his or her class. The student must have no habitual behavior violations and must not be considered truant. And then the student may not be directly related to a board member. And we did that, but you know, most of all have them in there, but that's because of conflict of interest. And then I think, Mr. Clifton, I think it was you that said, what about being if they're akin to our other employees or something like that? And so what we had talked about, I feel we need to follow what we do for the board members, because if you look at students not being kin to any of our other employees, we'll really not have many to pick from, because there's so many of our employees that have children here or akin to somebody. And then also the nepotism now, thankfully, is just immediate family, because used to, we had a hard time with in-laws. Like, it couldn't be your brother-in-law, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, father-in-law if you served on the board. You know, they couldn't apply in the district. So that would be the only thing that I'd say I'd be hesitant about, is to add that piece, because there's so many students that are kin
So
to.
immediate family is what,
So immediate
that's
families,
what
like,
applies to us, so I
yeah,
don't know why.
so that's,
we
I just
didn't
wanted to make
apply
sure
to
we
it.
talked about it, because I think that's what I heard you say something about that, Greg, when I was virtual. I apologize because it was random in and out, but our students, there's so many of them that would be kin to somebody.
What's considered immediate family then?
It's just your immediate family. It's mom, dad, brother, sister, daughter, son. Yeah, I can get you it's the new nepotism. That's what it is. But it used to have all that in in-laws, Greg. It was like brother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law.
All the time, it was a mess.
All that's taken out. So that's that piece. And then if you go to page 2, we also added, the student board representative must understand the board activities hold priority over most other engagements that might conflict. So Evan and I put the student board representative will be excused from classes or other school activities that occur during those board meetings. The second bullet, any student board representative who misses more than 2 consecutive meetings unless excused by the superintendent or board chair for reasons satisfactory shall be removed from the board. So what we talked about with that, it's the same kind of thing. You all, if you miss 2 consecutive, y'all have that conversation. But I feel like there might also be circumstances where those students need to be excused for some rare occasion that then it could be like the superintendent or board chair could say, yes, we can excuse them for this, but we need to make sure it's legit. So I'm going to put that in there. The student board representative will not receive a per diem. The student board representative will not have access to the board attorney without consent to the superintendent or board chair. The student board representative will first work through the superintendent and the board chair to request any matter to be placed before the full board. Because a lot of times when we meet a student council, they are like, can we do this? Can we do that? So I think it's great to ask those questions, but they still need a go-to. The student board representative, next one. The student board representative will take direction from the superintendent and board chair to seek further student voice for consideration on student-related topics. The student board representative will work to represent opinions of the student body and not solely the representative's own opinions. The student board representative will consult with the superintendent in carrying out the associated responsibilities. The student board representative is expected to accept the will of the majority vote in all cases and give support to the resulting decision. The student board representative will collaborate with the district's director of public relations to communicate with, report to the student body and or local media regarding matters discussed at the board meeting. And we want to put that in there because we're being a role model for them and teaching them how the proper way to speak with media. And we do that with Evan too. All of our staff knows Evan's the media person. You don't speak to the media unless Evan's there with you, kind of thing, just so we're consistent and it keeps it very clear. So we want to be a role model for our students too in that manner. A student board representative may be removed by majority vote of the members of the board for failure to perform the duties of the office or for irregular attendance or for misconduct. If a student board representative vacancy shall occur, Union County High School student body will elect a new student board representative by majority vote to fulfill the remaining term. And then the last page is the non-discrimination. Then if you look at the other document there, that is the student board representative application and then the cover form. So this is Union County Public Schools is adding a student board representative to the Board of Education team this school year. The student board member must be a senior during the 23-24 school year and will be an advisory member who participates in all board meetings unless excused by the superintendent or the board chair. Board meetings are typically held on the 3rd Thursday of each month at noon and the 4th Monday at 6. The student board representative will be excused from classes or other school activities that occur during board meetings. The student board representative will not have voting rights and will not participate in closed sessions. The opportunity to serve as a student board representative is a privilege and high honor. The qualifications that would be expected of a student board representative are the following. The student board representative must be able to articulate the opinions of their peers in a professional and appropriate manner. The student board representative must be willing to present well-researched information and reasonable solutions to the board and to the public. The student board representative will uphold the highest standards of character, achievement, behavior, and school attendance. The student must be on track to earn the academic credits required to graduate on time with his or her class. The student must have no habitual behavior violations and must not be considered truant. The student may not be directly related to a board member. From the pool of eligible applicants who submit applications, one candidate will be elected by a majority vote of their high school peers. So that's kind of a letter to them for the application. And then on the back, this is the cover letter form that would have their name, address, and phone number. And then it explains to them that they need to submit the following by November 30th. This is if we move forward. Application cover form, 1 to 2 page resume, 2 letters of reference, one from a school employee and one from a community member. A 500 to 750 word essay explaining why you want to serve as a school board representative and how you will represent students' interests if elected to that role. All applicants will be asked to meet with Mr. Sheffer before the election to ensure they understand the expectations for the student board representative. In order to apply to be a student board member, the student must obtain the signature of the school principal. The signature signifies that the student represents strong character, attitude, commitment, and excellence, and is well qualified to serve in this role to represent the students of the district to the public and to the Board of Education. So that's what we have so far. And I know that's a whole lot real quick, but you can look through that. If you want me to add that to the agenda for approval this month on Monday, we can. If not, you can
I'd like you to
go
add-
through it
I'd like to
again.
add something that-
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You all can go
That
through it
gives
again.
that gives us all weekend to look at it, just anybody has any questions. So.
I've got some questions just to,
Okay.
to discuss as a group.
Sure.
On this subject. Perfect. I didn't realize we were gonna be talking about this today, but, so I'll try to capture my thoughts and questions. I'm wondering if any other board members, have you all sought out other districts and got information from other districts that are using student board representatives to get some feedback?
The only thing I've done is I have looked up online what the agreements were that some of the other districts had as far as what we just read through here. And it's very similar to what they just had. If you look out of our state, a lot of other states, all their districts have a student representative, just as regular protocol. And the feedback I've looked at online seems to be very positive as far as it helps the student bodies feel more engaged with what's going on in the school by having that representation on the board was kind of the consensus from what I was reading. Have you had a chance to look at anything?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of different school districts that were on that list that Mr. Jackson provided us of different schools that are using them. The feedback was that if they had to go back and do it all over again, they wouldn't do it. They didn't think it provided much value to their school board group. That's just been not been good for their district. Not overly negative, but it's just kind of like they don't really understand, the purpose and the value that the student representative brings. And not that we need to listen to everybody involved also. So I just wanted to ask if anybody else, because I've done some research and had some discussions, and I also wanted to ask, where does this come from? Do we have students that are asking to be a part of our school board, to sit on the board? Do they don't feel like they don't have a voice? I represent District 4, but I also feel like I represent the entire county. I take phone calls and texts and emails, I'm sure you all do as well, from people all over the county, old, young, and it doesn't matter, but, they've got opportunities to address the board, I feel like any other citizen does. And so at some point, you also gotta figure out, well, where does it stop? Do we have a parent rep? Some of us are parents that are on the board. Do we have a teacher rep? Do we have an employee rep? Do we have these are some things that go through my head on why we want to do this.
Sure. So if
So
I
I'd like
can
to hear that.
address that a little bit, Greg, myself, and I don't know how the board members feel, but out of the 17 districts, I've talked to a couple, and just Jeremy Roach just the other day with Evan there too, again, and he said it's been positive for them. But I think and I have all 17 of their policies too. If y'all want those, y'all can look at those too if you want to wait on it. And I can get you the phone numbers of all their superintendents. But one of the things that I think, Greg, is when we had our student advisory council, Evan and I have, and we had the Lighthouse team at the high school, they have really good perspective, our students, and that's our customer we serve. So it's always like, I think with any business, you listen to your customers and look at what can you do to provide high quality. Here, it's instruction and opportunities for our students. In a new private business, it's how do we keep our quality customer service up, right? And so I see them as our customers. And so we talked to them at our student council meeting. They came up with some really good ideas for our schools. And so we've always taken those ideas and really ran with them. And so I really value the student voice. And the difference in the board is parents have representation on their school site base. And so that's where a lot of parents have the representation, and teachers have the representation there. And then the principals bring their ideas, they're really involved with their site base, and they have a voice and a voting voice on that. So the student's the one that doesn't really have any representation, and they still don't vote. It's just they come with, have y'all thought about that? Have you thought about that? Same thing I tell them to do with me, and we tell them, talk us into us, talk us out of it. What's your ideas? What's the pros and cons? And I think it's just student voice for our students, and across the state, we see the benefit of having that customer at the table saying, how do you feel about that? You know, and I've never had a decision we made about student input that was really negative. You know, it always made things better for us. I mean, I don't know, any of our other people could comment about that, but every time I brought the students in and said, you know, tell us how we are working to achieve your goals, they're very brutally honest. So it makes you think, because here's the thing, in leadership, you realize you don't want everybody around the table necessarily thinking exactly like you do. You want pros and cons and talk it out and have good discussion, and that's how you grow and get better, most definitely. But I feel like they brought a lot of ideas to us, and really good things have come from some of their ideas. And we've made some changes in our school system based on what they've needed. So, I mean, it's just an opportunity.
That's through the student council.
Yeah, through
So
just,
what's wrong with that process the way it is today? Is it broken? Is it not working?
it's not broken, but I think
We're not
that
using
ends with me is their issue. So a lot of times, like, it'll end with me or their principals or something like that, and they really enjoy like coming to the board and having the reports, giving the reports and things. But I think it's just they're part of the community and part of the process, and we look at our strategic plan and looking at being collaborative. It's just they are one internal shareholder that's really not at the table anywhere as far as with board or site-based. And it may be something, if you don't want them on the board, you can say, you know, site-based could look at each of their schools if they wanted a student non-voting member. But, and also at the state level, that's one of the indicators, and we're looking at, you know, being college, career, and life ready. And we say successful, that's one of the things that we really promote, is for students to have that opportunity to serve. And then it kind of helps with their leadership when they get ready to graduate. They've served on the school board, so they feel more comfortable serving on city council or magistrate on physical court or something like that. So it's just an opportunity, honestly. But I mean, I'm not saying I'm pushing it, that it has to be because I'm pushing it. I'm just saying that's what I felt about it, and we've talked about it off and on a little bit. And so we called KSBA to say, how many districts have a student representative? And she gave us the 17 districts, and so I've talked to several of those superintendents that are in their co-ops, and they were like, it's good, you know, there's sometimes on the agenda, there's really not much that the students having input on. It's just, you know, there, but then when you look at substitute pay and things like that, they were like, they had some good insight on, you know, we are very shorthanded right now, and we need subs, and y'all need to consider doing this, this, and this. And they're like, oh. So sometimes they're just, I think of us, you know, we were in elementary, we were very creative, and middle and high school still had some creativity, but as you grow older, that creativity kind of is, you know, squelched a little bit, and they are free to say and do a lot. And I just enjoy it myself being with them, but I really value their input. But I don't know, you know, like you said, you as board have to decide, is this the place to have them, you know, but I don't have any problem with it.
I don't disagree with you. I value their input a great deal. I wonder if the interest is there for them to really want to serve, and I wonder if their voice isn't heard through other mechanisms we have set up, like student council and through their parents. And, you know, we've got open board meetings where noon on Thursday is different than, you know, 6 o'clock on a Monday, but not many guests come in and want to speak or talk. And that's, again, that's something I think we can improve on, but I don't know. I just feel like the opportunities right now are there. The mechanisms are set up to listen to that student voice, which is just very valuable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just trying to learn more about why we're wanting to do this.
And we may say we want to do it and have an application there, and we might only have 2 people even want to, because you have to be very involved. I mean,
Yeah.
it's committed.
I don't want to do it just because everybody else is doing it.
Oh,
Just
no,
because
there's
a dozen
17
districts across the state that are doing it, or 17 or whatever.
There's
it is.
17 out of 171 districts, so it's not everybody's doing it, it's just one person likes value.
I mean, I would like to see it happen, and I can just give you like a comparison, like on my job, for instance. The Department of Labor, it's like the National Office of Job Corps, Department of Labor, and then you know you have your centers. So a couple of years ago, they come up with this curriculum called My Pace. Nobody asked anybody that was a teacher about this curriculum. We were just told it was created, and we were just given a big binder of 30 lessons and told just to go for it. We had to teach ourselves. Now, anytime they make changes or do anything, they still don't ask us. now that we've been doing it for years and we're kind of experts at it, they'll change stuff or add stuff or take stuff away that was beneficial. It's like the things that they change are things that they really shouldn't change, and the things that they leave the same are the things that they need to change, if that makes sense. So I think that by us as a board, our main goal is to serve the students, right? We're here to be the students' voice and to make the best decisions possible for the students. If there is a student that is interested enough and brings us some good input that we can use, I absolutely see that it could have a whole lot of value. I really do. It kind of goes like, sometimes people take your voice away, you know, you can't really put like, we can't just say that the student may not be able to give good input, because who knows, they may come in here and blow our minds. You know, I mean, you can't, I think until we actually experience it, we can't say that it may not have a lot of value, or it may not even really have anybody interested, or how that person may perform until, you know, we actually do it. I just think it would be good to have their voice here. They don't vote. I mean, we're serving them. That's why we're here. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the students, so I don't really see a problem with it. Now, if we do it and maybe that person isn't the best, or we see that we don't really have interest, then we can always come back and say, hey, it's not needed. But I don't think it would be any harm in trying it out. That's just my opinion.
I kind of missed a lot of that last month. I think that last working session, I wasn't here, is when this was brought up, but, I heard about it the Monday night meeting, a little bit about it, but I'm here, I mean, I'm here for the kids, for the students. That's why I sit right here. So I value anytime one stops me, says anything, gives me input on something. So I'm like Kurt, it's something you can try and be like, okay, it didn't work. The commitment part, maybe, how committed will they be, would be the question I have, you know, 'cause
Then
it's
I
a
think it would go
commitment.
back to who
And
it is.
Well,
you
that
know?
could be why some districts didn't see the whole lot of value, because it might be, depending on their application
Depends on the
process.
quality of the person.
Right.
And being
Right.
able to
And-
just
And there,
speak.
you know, there could be a kid sitting over there that would absolutely love it, you know, to be a part of it. I don't know, but I don't walk the halls, I don't sit in the classroom, so anytime I get an opportunity to learn a little bit about each one of our schools, I like to know, I like to know what's going on.
Mhm.
And, so I'll look over this a little bit more, and I wouldn't mind to have that list of schools that, I didn't get none of that last month when I missed, but, I think it's worth a try. I think it's maybe worth a try. If it don't work, then you just scratch it and say it wasn't a good idea, you know? But I kinda missed the conversation last month on that, on the whole thing. I did hear about it Monday night.
I think it's worth a try. I mean, we've had over the years several meetings that the students come in and they have suggestions, and you're thinking, man, I didn't even think about that. And it's like Chad said, his exact words, if you're not walking in their shoes, you really don't know what they could bring to the table. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, the worst we could do is try it and then, you know, have to get rid of it. I mean, if it doesn't work, but
Who would be the final, like go through the interview process of them and stuff? Is that the board? Will we sit through an interview process with them?
If you want,
Or is that something you already, the administrators or something?
we
I
have,
thought they just
they'll,
went on a ballot.
they'll do,
Oh,
yeah,
they'll vote at the
They'll
school?
vote it.
Okay.
but I
okay.
mean, if you wanna see the applicants before they go.
No,
mean,
that's none of my
Yeah.
business. I didn't
The high
know the
school students
process.
will
I
vote
didn't
for
know
that.
it.
They gotta do all these things and put their resume in there and have their reference from somebody in school and outside of school. So once they complete all the application, then their nomination, their name would go on a ballot. And I'll speak with them before we have the election to say, do you realize this is a true commitment?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because I know sometimes at school, or I remember when I went to school, sometime a voting thing turned into a popularity
Yeah,
contest.
yeah.
They gotta go through
More
several
so than
steps.
Yeah, if they
You know,
go through these
qualification,
steps,
deal.
they have to write a resume, they have to
Okay.
submit the resume, kind of thing, write their essay. Once they do that, then I have all the names, then I would meet with that group and say, I want you all to realize the seriousness of this and what it means, because they've not had it.
Right.
Like the 1-2 page resume, would that include like how active they are in sports
I mean,
and
whatever they want to put in their resume.
everything?
We left it open like that because a resume is just that, you tell us what you want us to know about you.
Right,
But then the 500, 750 words would
references
tell you a
too.
lot, and the
The
reference,
references, I
we
think.
wanted one from the community or internal and external
Mhm.
shareholders just to see.
Mhm.
But I also want to put in there excuse if needed, because I know a lot of these students that are high quality leaders in our schools, they're very involved in other things,
Mhm.
you know, and they serve as officers in a lot of other clubs
Yeah,
too,
I
so.
don't really want them missing a national conference or a
Right.
Can,
state championship event to.
we have one.
could it be, there may need to be a couple of like courses on a student of kind of
Well, there would be
guiding them on where their
It's a-
role is. Cause I don't want a student coming out here that doesn't like Miss Susie, their teacher in class, and like, y'all gotta, we gotta get rid of
They'll know it has
Miss
to.
Jackson, I don't like her,
Yeah.
It's about the student, about the school,
And that's
not
in there, they will
personal.
have, they'll have initial training with me, and it'll be the basics, just like you do as a board member, the basics of a board member, what you do, and what you can't do. And when it's on the, you can't discuss unless it's on the agenda, when it's on the agenda, when it's time for discussion, you get a motion, second, and discuss it before you vote. But, they'll have the same type of training, like what you have as a board member, so they'll know coming in, and you can't mention personnel, you can't mention student name because of FERPA and HIPAA and everything else. So, those kind of things are all kept confidential.
Good.
And they'd have to know. So that's what I'm saying. I'd have to have a meeting saying, if you're really
Yeah, it
interested,
may-
here's what this involves. And then once the person's elected, then they would have to sit down and have a couple trainings with me. And Evan, I would include Evan in that prior to serving. And that's what I said. You could try it this year and you have a half year, see how you like it. If you don't, the next year you don't have to.
I think it's worth a try.
And then next year, what we would do is at the end of their junior year, we would start that process and they'd be ready for their senior year when they come in. To start
So
the one
That will be this year's senior, I'll be represented
for the half
for
a year.
half a year.
Like I've said earlier, I've not talked to any of the other districts directly. I've just looked at some stuff online that some of them have available. I have talked to some parents here in our district and several parents to see what their opinion was. Out of the ones I talked to, I only have one parent that had anything negative to say about us doing something like that. And I've talked to several students and some of them actually were some that expressed interest in actually serving on it as well. So I still think it's a good chance for us to actually hear directly, not third party or anything else, from a student, what they're representing as a student body, and then take that information back to the student body.
How will that exchange take place from the student body to the rep and vice versa? What's that look
That's
like?
what I put in there, if you noticed, that they would go through, when they communicate back and give report back to the students, it would be through with Evan there beside them as our PR person. So they can go back and it's factual things and they can say, and teach them how to be very professional. Here's what's on the agenda, here's the outcome of that, and I know as students, here's some of the things you were recommending or suggestion, here's what that conversation was like. So they would know, but it's more report back to students through, with Evan.
Would they
beside them.
attend the working session as well, or just the board working session as well?
That's why I have there to be excused if they do that. Yes, because that's where you have a lot of, I mean, the
think
whole
you learn
purpose of
more in a
working sessions have a lot
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
It's it's a
More
lot of
discussion.
conversation at the working session, usually that's what it's for, to work through this, and that's why I said, when we have general discussion on there, I'm not saying, it has to be on that agenda the next, but it's a good conversation to have prior to putting something on the agenda.
Yeah, I think.
So it's not on the Monday agenda yet, but if you wanted it, we could add it as number 11, but it's not on there yet. Because I wanted us just to have conversation, because I know you like questions. And I wasn't here, and it's just differently, and I didn't answer those questions.
What's the part about being related to directly related immediate family to a school board?
It's on,
Under student board member eligibility on the front page,
let me get mine,
very last sentence in that first paragraph in that.
Says board member.
Yes.
It's not about school board.
yeah, we didn't put anything in there about school employee, we just said board member. Because with school employee, if you put a school employee, you're not gonna have already anybody in there because, it would be under student board member eligibility, we just have the student may not be directly related to school board, just board member. But we did not add to school employee because we felt like if we added a school employee, you're not gonna have hardly any students.
Well, I thought immediate family, we talked about mother, son, daughter, father, sister, brother, that immediate
Yes,
family.
your immediate family. Yes,
That would just be us, or,
that's the board member's immediate family. It's just like it is now, just like you would.
So I don't think that a
Like,
student board representative should be related in immediate family to a school employee. That's my,
But see, when you do school employee, Greg, that's so many people, like when you think we got bus drivers,
oh, I know, there's a lot of
Custodians,
employees,
cooks.
one of the biggest employers in the county.
like that's a lot of kiddos that, I mean, I don't know who you would get. I mean, there's not many, cause I think of my kiddo, I mean, there was,
I mean, we
I
got
had
5
an
board
aunt.
members here that are representing the county that
Yeah.
aren't directly related to.
right, but it's
Family.
only the board member, and that's why they would be, like, they can't be related to a direct board member. But they could be related to any of the school
And it's-
employees
and it's-
other than the board member.
Essentially, you're making them a board member, so I feel
Right.
like they should have the same guidelines
it
as
is.
That is.
a school board member does.
It is, it's what it
So
would be.
in other words, my wife couldn't work here at this school district because I'm a board member,
Right,
or vice versa.
That's right.
Because we're immediate family.
Mhm.
Same thing with, if I had a son that
Yeah,
would teach.
that's
Yeah.
why they're
Or
gonna
my
be, they can't be
brother or
related
sister.
to, they can't be related
So
to
they would be
immediate.
the son of a parent who would be a teacher, for example, or a janitor, or,
But see, you're going out to employees now instead of board members.
you know, same. They're the board member, the student's the board member.
Right, so their mom or dad couldn't be working, be on the board.
Couldn't
On
be
the
a
board.
school employee,
Couldn't work anywhere in our district.
Yeah,
And see,
is
that's
what I'm
what,
saying.
yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't include school, you know, y'all can decide, if you want it to be a school employee, you can decide it, but it would really restrict things. That's why I said I thought it'd be like the board member, like you can't be immediately related to a board member, because that's the way the other employees
Oh,
are.
I
They,
agree with that. 'cause
the
it'd be like
employees can't
having-
be related to board member.
You know, like at church, we have an elder board, and you can't have a wife and husband on the same board. I mean,
Mhm.
that's not right.
Right.
You just got too many people from the same family on board.
Right,
But same reason why we're restricted to immediate family members that work for the district. None of us have immediate family members that work for the district as school board members.
right.
This student is going to become a school board member, so they should not be directly, immediately related to a school employee, just like the same standard we are held to. And
Personally,
it's
I
kind of the same
personally,
reason why we put this in blue about the senior must be on track to earn academic credits. We're required to have a high school diploma. Now, they can't have one because they're students, they don't have it.
Well, they're not voting, they're
No,
not
they're-
voting on
they're not
matters.
voting.
They're
not
not-
voting, and it's
and
only
that's
a
why-
one-year term.
that's why we
don't
do-
think
I mean, do we
should
need to
limit-
change the
limit it.
We
title
did
from a school board member to?
it doesn't say school board member, it
Like
says
a
student
representative.
representative.
School
It
board.
says
That's what I'm
student
saying,
board
so-
representative, it doesn't say member, it says student board representative. And
Says
then,
student board member eligibility. Like,
but on the application, it's student board representative.
regardless if they're a member or a representative,
Well, they're a non-voting member though. That's the
but they
thing,
have a voice at this table.
yes. But anybody does, like you said, if their,
So again.
their
back to the
parent
point,
was an
why are we
employee-
doing it?
if their
Everybody's
parent
got a
was an
voice in this
employee,
decision.
they could always come to the board too as a concern.
I mean,
But you're
I think-
elevating that voice.
I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is about having a
Me either.
student representative. Me personally.
The only
think
thing
it's
I
good.
would, I do agree, if we change the verbiage everywhere in here to where it says
Make it
student board
consistent.
rep instead of member.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, it needs to be
That verbiage needs to be
representative.
the same throughout the thing,
Yep.
but other than that, I don't have a problem with either. I think the students ought to have a voice.
Just something to think about as far as recruitment and retention, if you can't hire an employee, a bus driver, or we have a lot of positions where we're trying to find people because they're related to the student rep, you might do yourself out of a good employee. If you say they can't be related to any of our other employees,
True.
like bus driver, I mean, we have
Some of
40
the parents would
people
rather
working
be
at
on
the bus
here.
garage and food service.
Well, I just think of like my own job when he was here, he had aunts, I mean, everybody was working, cousins, so it'd be hard if you just say, can tell them.
Can I ask you something? What
Student
is,
board.
what is it that you are against
I'm
with
not,
having one?
I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. What I'm saying is we need to, if we're
You're
gonna be,
speaking more
if we're
against it
gonna
than
be-
you really are for it.
if we're gonna be doing this, we should there was a lot of discussion last meeting about making sure that this individual is held to the same standards and guidelines that everyone else around the table is held to. Specifically, we were talking about high school diploma, because we were talking about different grade point averages you gotta have.
Well, what we,
Wait a minute, hang on, I'm answering her
go ahead,
question.
I'm just thinking.
So, if we're gonna be making this standard equal to other people sitting around this table who get to talk freely during discussion like we're doing now, I feel like that same standard of relationships with immediate family members should be the same as the same standard that the five of us are held to.
I think a big factor is though, they're not voting, though. They are not
Yeah,
voting.
Okay, so that goes back to my original question. Why are we doing this? Because they still have a voice, whether they're sitting in one of those burgundy chairs or whether they're sitting around this table.
Maybe they would feel like they would have more of a voice though, sitting at this table than just out there. I mean, when I went to school, I probably didn't know who my board members were. I really didn't. And I would like for that to, change. I would. And I don't know really how many kids do know who the board members are. When they're sitting in there getting their diploma, and you're thinking, do they even really know who we are? That's probably something we need to work on also. Really.
Absolutely.
Yes. And maybe this might be the first step, to them to sit here with us, not be a voting member, but then bring it back with Evan and start having discussion. Hey, we have a representative on this board, and it could very possibly, I don't know, make more conversation and them be more, maybe friendlier, with the board, with us, with the members. Maybe they feel like not as an equal, but possibly, it could be.
Sometimes titles can make you appear unapproachable as well. Like, there could be some students out there that maybe have wonderful ideas, but are scared to address them, with certain people. Maybe they don't even feel comfortable going to their principal or anybody else, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes just the school board in general, the name could, to certain students could scream like unapproachable, like, oh, they're not gonna listen to me, or nobody cares about my opinion. But, I just think this is our job. We are here because of the students. If we didn't have students, we wouldn't have a board. So, since we are here for the students and we're making decisions for the students, it just makes perfect sense to me, and this is Lanye Martin's opinion, that it would be okay for a student to be able to sit here and voice their concerns and discuss with us about the things that we're deciding for their schools.
They can, every student has an opportunity in that right, either here at a meeting or through current channels.
We're talking about creating a direct spot for them in this room during our meetings, not for them to sign up for themselves. We're talking about having someone be able to fill out an application, be elected by the student body, and to come here voluntarily and sit here and have discussions just like we discuss. Because they are why we are a school board. Like, they're the reason. Students, we wouldn't have these positions.
I think
So,
it's the first step in being unapproachable. I think it could be, possibly.
Is it
I really
similar to what
do.
the city of Morganville did with their junior council? I know I've seen a lot of just through their social media, a lot more involvement from the youth. I know we have a
Yeah.
student senior who's been involved, who's sitting,
I've
I
seen
think,
a little bit
attending
of
their
it, but-
council, Abbey Road.
I don't see that it would be a problem, and
I think it'd be worth a
if we
try.
could just give it a try. Like, I don't think. Do you see it like?
I don't
Do
think
you
it'd
think it's
hurt
gonna
to try
hurt
it.
something? Like, do you see?
Invited.
Like, if we was just to try it, no, seriously, like, if we was just to try it, like, what's the worst that could happen? If we would just give it a try for our students.
I didn't say I'm against it, so.
But I'm, okay, so you're not against it, but I'm just, can you not answer that, like,
I wanna
what's
see
the-
the standards of the board representative to be somewhat like our school board. I know y'all say, well, they don't have a vote. Well, then it goes back to the main question. They don't have a vote, but they got a voice. Well, they already have a voice.
So let me say what I was trying to say a while ago. So the standards that Evan and I set were not the same as the board members. So you all have to have at least a high school diploma or GED, right, to be on the board. So Evan and I were looking at what do we want those standards to be, because we know we don't want them to be absent a lot. We want them to be good behavior, we want them to be in good standing. So what we did is we looked at the standards that are currently in the high school handbook, and that says on track for completion for graduation. So we amended it to make it fit what they currently have. So they're on track for graduation, they're not truant, no habitual violations for behavior, things like that. So I don't want y'all to be confused that our standards that we set for them to apply was the same standards as what a board member is, because it is a board representative and it's non-voting, and I'm going through here now to see, most of those, I thought Evan and I had board representative, because we went through, remember we were doing find and delete, there's one, Evan, I found that says Union County High School to sit as a non-voting member of the board, and that one needs to be representative, but we can go back there and change it, but I want you to understand, we were coming from the point of being a representative, not a board member voting, but this is an invited voice, I guess is the way I see it. And they're our customers, so we wanted it, and we value their input, but I think it's like what Greg's saying, they have the opportunity anytime to come, but this is an invited voice where we've invited them. Other times, they may or may not feel comfortable coming and presenting to the board, but if they're invited up front and we have applicants that are quality,
And
you know,
really,
they
as
would
far
have an
as
opportunity,
A lot of
but-
the work goes on where we're really talking and more in depth on budget and things, just like we are today. We aren't gonna have a student here in any working session. They do not have a chance to sit here because they're in school. Where if they are a board rep, then they do have a place here with us. And to me, that's another good opportunity for them to learn and take back to the other people what we are actually doing as a board, and to be able to share with us what the students are thinking. I really don't see a negative to it.
I think it's worth a try myself. I think the candidate will make a big difference on how serious they are, how engaged they are.
I think it's a good leadership.
And I think I can
learning
learn
opportunity
something from
for that individual
myself.
as well.
I'd like to see some language added about not being directly related to the school employee. If we're talking about drafting something that you are interested in.
You saying,
Some feedback I've got.
so you're saying you want it to be what we said we didn't think that it should be?
That's what he's saying.
Saying where it says student board member eligibility, the student may not be directly related to a board member. I think we should add language or school employee.
No, I'm not for that. I'm just going, I just say the board.
We can vote on it as it is, and if it doesn't pass, then we can look at changing language.
I understand being directly related to a board member, but if your aunt's a teacher at Sturgis and you're at high school.
Yeah, we're not talking about aunts. We made that
Okay,
clear. We're not
your
talking about aunts.
grandparents a
We're not talking about
teacher.
grandparents either.
Okay.
Moms and
Where's
dads.
Mom, dad, brother,
brothers and
sister.
sisters? Okay.
that one. It could be a brother that, you know, you're at Sturgis and.
But you are gonna go through all that and make sure you put representative, not board.
Yes, board representative, and I think it's board representative everywhere except that one spot, but I'll make sure that we can clean that up. So am I hearing the board say you wanna add that as a 11?
I'd
board
like to add
chair?
it.
Is there at least 3 people saying?
I would think it's probably gonna need to be pulled out and have a separate, instead of being on consent.
So put it under other?
Yeah,
Okay.
to have discussion.
So number 1 under other, and then also I wanna clarify too, which, Evan, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this either. On our policies, these, I wanna clarify, this would be the first reading Monday night. For these policies that we added, policy number 9 and number 10, I should have first reading beside those, but we'll make sure that's on there before Monday night. So Monday night will be the first reading for those, because you have to have 2 readings for policy, procedures 1. But,
Okay.
so when you look under consent, number 9 and 10 are both related to policy, so that's first reading, it will say. So just always first reading.
So,
And then the next month, we'll have the second reading.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My memory. I don't ever remember having anything under other items, so what does that mean?
It's anything else we just,
Yeah.
anything you wanna put on there that might have more discussion that night.
So we
We've
just
had several
discuss it and
things
not vote on it? or-
No,
No,
you'll
no,
discuss
you'll
it.
still vote on it, it's just under other, instead of
It's-
like consent is everything we've discussed here and we all
That
know
we kind
pretty
of
much.
already, gotcha. So
We
since
have-
there's still questions, then we can still put it on the agenda, but just put it under other.
Yes,
Right.
you'll
Yeah,
still
so-
vote on it.
So we still vote on it. Okay.
Consent is pretty much everything we've discussed and we know that everybody is in agreement to. If there's still some question or something, we'd like to put it under others, so there's more
Gotcha.
conversation about it. But then we've had several things like, you just have to think back through it. And there's not a whole lot, because a lot of times we're here and we discuss it, we know we're all pretty good. But then like if there's, student hearing, it's under other.
Oh, okay.
If you remember, like
Oh,
my
yeah,
evaluations have been under other, things like that. So we
Really?
just don't use a whole lot. But yes, it's still an agenda item to
Okay.
approve.
Okay,
It's,
alright. I just wanted to clarify, make
Yes.
sure that I understood. what it
Yeah.
was.
it's just to approve. You're right. It's just been a bit, so, but we'll put it under other. Okay,
So, Monday night, we'll have the corrected, like with the verbiage change?
yes,
Okay.
we'll have everything with student representative on there for you.
One quick thing about LABEC update.
Okay, anything else on that before we move on to other general discussion items? Anybody? Dad, you good? No, y'all good? Okay. Amy has one more thing under general discussion.
Yes, I just wanted to update you quickly on the renovation project. So our architect is scheduling meetings. They were supposed to be here this week, but with fall break, it kind of got us a week off behind. But over the next week and a half, he's gonna come back. They are working on design development documents. They met with all of our teachers and Coach Irvin, and so then they design their spaces. They're gonna come back and then share their designs based on their input again and just see if they need to refine it further. So that'll take place over the next week and a half. And then there'll be a design team project kickoff meeting with us around the table, kind of after the teachers kind of finalizing the design. And then at the next November board meeting, we'll bring the design development documents to you to approve design development. And then once the design development is done, then we move into the construction document phase. So just give you an update. Justin McElfresh things like
I'm
what
so
the
sorry.
KDE steps that are required,
Mhm.
site surveys and things like that, all of the KDE steps, and work on this construction documents to put that out to bid, solicit bids and all that from November to March. So just kind of let you know, we're still in the design phase, but hopefully we're gonna
Right.
solidify that over the next couple of weeks.
And if you
When, at what point will we have to make a decision on the field house as far as, once we see bids?
Once we see
We'll
bids
bid it
back.
as one base bid, and then the larger facility as an alternate. Then we can come back and see what we can afford when the actual bids come in.
And when do you anticipate that will be?
March. So construction documents go through March. He has a tentative bid date of, let's see, well, early to mid-March will be the bids. Kind of depends on how the progression goes, but he has early March, putting that out to bid.
If you have other questions between now and then too, please email those to Amy. Because Amy answered one for Greg when I was on fall break this past week, and so it's easy to get those answers to you to get back out to your,
Appreciate the quick response.
yeah.
Well, any questions that come up.
You know, those stakeholders, we can get those answers back to you this year. I want to get that to you, but we'll have, it's gonna be a long process through March, but you may have other ideas, come up with questions,
Just the way that is.
Yeah.
or somebody might approach you about something, you're like, well, hold on, let me find out, and we can get.
And we're really taking our time
several.
because we want our teachers and our coaches, I mean, this is their space. We wanted
Mhm.
them to design their space, so it's kind of
Right.
taking our time to go back and forth with them to get the space that they want.
And they've done well, though. They've
Yeah.
taken it serious and we've, checked square footage is
Big deal.
double and added more and done things, so it's
I remember
it's their
when we-
space.
Yeah.
It's gonna be here with them when we're long
I
and
was
gone,
gonna say, it's
so.
a once in a career opportunity to help design
Yes.
your own space.
I remember when, Mr.
That's
Irvin was
awesome.
talking about, the privacy because of the girl wrestlers and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
They think of everything.
When it's getting bigger
But
and
that's
bigger.
why
the
you-
rest-
Exactly, yeah.
The girls
most
wrestlers
definitely.
are,
And if you can avoid anything like that, that was,
Yes.
that was a, I mean, it was
Priority.
great insight on his part.
That's right. So that's why we want them involved, and all those CTE teachers for sure.
So
And
the,
that's
Swift is gonna start roofing in November on the high school.
For this damage that was made from the thunderstorm, yes. Any other questions?
I got something else too, yes, just thinking about, talking about questions from people in the community. Where are we on possibly getting these meetings quickly uploaded, a recording uploaded on either YouTube or some other platform so that the public can go to the meeting and listen to it and hear the discussion and know what was said and what wasn't said? Because between now and the last meeting, I had a text message from someone saying, hey, I hear you are looking at a 4-day work week or a 4-day week, what's going on? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that was brought up as a question, but I said, there really was no discussion. I said,
Right.
So I called and said, hey, this is the conversation. But if they had the opportunity to watch the video or listen to our discussion, they could hear exactly for themselves what was said, the context it was said in.
Yeah. They
I
should
think
be.
that would
Is it not-
clarify and really help our community know, you're talking about getting students involved and hearing their voice and engaging them. I think that would be a phenomenal way to engage our community. Whether you're a high school student or you're a
What is the
retiree.
most recent one on our?
I was gonna say, my assumption was Sean had them loaded on there. I never look at them because I'm gonna go back
Now, the
there.
last one, I was looking the other day, after that phone call, I think it was maybe April.
Amanda, will
Is
you
he
preach,
here?
will you walk in there and see if Sean's here?
And I don't see the microphones out today, so I'm guessing this one isn't being recorded either.
They are, I know that Sean, he's using a new system now that he's got it fixed where those the
These right here.
microphones around the.
I was gonna say our green light's on, so I'm pretty
Those
sure
are
we're
linked
being
to the
recorded.
computer, so they are.
Should be, but I don't wanna
Oh,
speak.
they're not
See,
out no more.
see not in there? Let me try to call him while we're here.
And the last one was 5 months ago.
He'll answer.
A lot of organizations up with.
I'll just see if he'll answer, if we can get it answered while we're here. If not, I can get a hold of him. Hello, Mr. Winters. I'm still in the board meeting and we're having general discussion. So I've got you on speaker. Mr. Clifton asked if today's meeting was being recorded for one. And the second thing is he's wanting to know how quick these board meetings can be uploaded. I assume they were already uploaded. I never watched them afterwards. But, you have today being recorded?
They were being recorded. That one started later though, because the computer ended up trying to apply an update. But it did get started recording a little bit after,
12.
well, I think right when Billy started talking.
Okay.
Is when it got recorded.
Okay, well, good. Well, I saw the green lights on, but I didn't know, and I knew y'all done some new things in here. So the other meetings, have they been recorded to be
They've
uploaded?
been recorded. I don't think anybody's been uploading anything though. I think we've just been kind of stockpiling them right now.
Okay, well, we need to go ahead and get those that are recorded, because if they're already recorded, let's just go ahead and upload them.
Okay.
Because
We can do
that's you all doing that now, not the students, since the students aren't coming this semester.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that I answered that question. We'll get them in the next day then, whenever we can get them past the board meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you, Sean, I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
No problem. Bye.
Get it done.
There we
So
go.
today is being,
Yeah, okay, good, I'm glad.
it's easier for me to do it while I'm thinking about it, because
If you're like me, if you
I
don't
know
write
they
it
recorded
down,
them.
I know.
Well, I know we
write
had
it
the
down,
students
good
record,
thing.
and then,
it doesn't happen.
anything else, anybody?
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Gabbard made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hackman, second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?